invite your fellow panelists to the stage, and also we can get you to take a seat as well so you can relax. We have Robert Jenkins joining us. He is the CEO of Cloud Sigma Switzerland. He's the founder and revolutionizing cloud services with focus on local data sovereignty and greening the computer industry. So we're just going to pull up the picture there so you can see where you're going to sit. Dr. Bao, you are here. Robert's all the way down the end there. Thanks, Robert. Also joining us on stage, Ghanim Halab-Leal, the lead negotiator for mitigation at COP28 UAE, a chemical engineer by background, an AI expert, and leading to that landmark negotiation with 198 countries. Tien Nguyen, the founding partner of Earth Venture Capital, all the way joining us from Vietnam. He's a deep tech investment specialist for climate solutions in Southeast Asia. Lovely to see you, Tien. And Saravan Penarbathi, the chief tech and operations officer at AIQ, a seasoned CTO with expertise in digital transformations and formerly from Microsoft. All of this is going to be ably moderated by Mustafa Mokas. He is the founder and CEO of Earth Technologies, all the way from France, specializing in carbon finance. Good afternoon to you. Clean energy, and of course, green eye. So we look forward to your panel.
Thank you very much. So I'm very delighted here to introduce this fantastic panel, very important for our current time, and I think it echoes very well the introduction of Dr. Bo, which is like how to align digital and the climate. Myself, I'm the co-founder of Earth Technology. What we do is typically aligning climate, carbon impact, and the cloud computing by powering, using green power to power the digital infrastructure. I would like to introduce very briefly the main challenge. In fact, over time, the industrialization has brought progress over history. At cost, oftentimes, by depleting natural resources from water, land, ocean, or air. So climate change is today a reality. And 1 year after COP28, it's really important to give that perspective on how AI today, with the need of energy that needs, could have a lower impact on the environment and on the climate on one side. And on the other side, the panel will address how AI is potentially a chance to bring more efficiency in the economy and to help the climate. So I will give the floor to start, and it's my real pleasure to have Ghanim Halab-Leal with us from COP28, who has been leading the energy negotiation. Can you please walk us through the energy challenge and give us a little bit of perspective on the COP front? Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you, Mustafa, and it's a pleasure to be here with you and with everyone. Let me start with a quick recap on the position of energy negotiations in the context of COP. At COP26 in Glasgow, there was a reference to a global effort to phase out the use of unabated coal. So that means coal without capturing the carbon that is emitted. At COP28, fast forward, apart from landmark decisions on the first global stocktake, the loss and damage fund and funding arrangements, the global goal and adaptation, within the energy transition outcomes, there was a commitment to pursue a target of tripling global renewable energy capacity and doubling energy efficiency by 2030. Phasing out unabated coal and, for the first time, transitioning away from fossil fuels. Now, this is a big deal because if you zoom out, look at the broader context, the state of energy markets, the state of interest rates, inflation, debt, and all of that, this came at a very interesting time, right? But if it didn't happen at COP28, it would have happened at COP29, 30, or it was coming sooner or later, because if you look at the data on record heat waves, the intensity of abnormal weather events, all of that speaks for itself. So in the context of AI, considering how every new generation of chips or parts that contribute to the computing infrastructure, they are becoming more energy intensive, so that is going to also create a lot of energy demand, right? So now what we're uncertain of is whether tripling renewable energy capacity is going to be enough to meet that demand, and I'll leave it at that. Thanks, Mustafa.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Ghanim, and maybe to highlight with some figures, I think EIA forecast 9% of electricity in the US in 2030 will come from data center. So it will triple from today. So it's significant impact. We also, another figure is PricewaterhouseCoopers, which is evaluating the AI economy, 15 trillion economy by 2030. So how can we power that? And I think for that we need infrastructure, definitely, and we need cloud. So can you please, Robert, walk us through how cloud perspective growth is and how you think we could green that industry?
Sure. So the bad news, as you say, is that the electricity requirements and infrastructure requirements to power the AI revolution, and also a lot of cloud computing associated with that, is absolutely enormous. And today, there is a global land grab of data center capacity and power generation capacity happening on a global scale. If you go to places like Iceland, they have forward sold capacity for 5 years. That's new generation capacity and data center capacity, to give you an idea of the demand. So that's already in the pipeline. So if we are to meet any kind of climate mitigation goals, we have to build out the new AI, the new infrastructure that powers AI in a different way to traditional data center approach in metro cities, etc. So we need a paradigm shift in approach in terms of how we power the AI capacity. So the demand is huge. Today, a training environment requires at least, say, double-digit megawatts, typically minimum 5, but typically now 10 to 15 megawatts. It'll soon be up to 50 to 100 megawatts, and then people already are planning. So within 5 years, you'll probably see the first clusters that could even be in a gigawatt range. So the reality is that the grids of today can't deal with that capacity, and if we go to a traditional approach of coal-fired powered station or something else, we're all going to get fried. So we need to find a different approach. So that's the bad news. The good news is that actually we can enable a new generation of green infrastructure with a different approach. And you know, at COP28, we were here in Dubai last December, we announced the Green Cloud Initiative, Green Cloud Infrastructure Initiative, and what we're doing and what the opportunity here is actually to help enable a new generation of green energy by taking the concept of stranded energy and using that for AI and cloud computing. So just quickly, the stranded energy is a concept that there is a lot of green energy capacity out there, but in many cases it's not viable because it's not convenient for traditional consumption, meaning it's not near metropolitan areas, etc. However, for AI, which are not latency sensitive, they don't have to be necessarily co-located with major population centers. So what we can do and what we're working on is actually building out cloud infrastructure and AI infrastructure co-located with green energy production. So for example, you could have a solar power plant in the desert and you would co-locate the AI training environment there. So you might be generating 100, 200 megawatts of solar and consuming it on site. So this is a green approach to being able to power the AI revolution and get some of the benefits, which I'm sure we'll hear about shortly. So the good news is there's absolutely a defined path and a viable path to doing this, and actually it's even cheaper than the traditional approach because we can avoid transmission loss, transmission costs, and actually we can help unlock a lot of latent potential in the green sector which hasn't been able to be brought to market because of the traditional previous approach to building out data centers.
Indeed, fascinating, and thank you for the perspective. To deep dive a little bit on the AI perspective on both fronts, actually, on the good news and the bad news. Sarah Van from AIQ, can you please share your perspective on how AI and data can be used to drive energy transition?
I think at AIQ, we truly believe in the principle, not as a lip service, that it's AI for energy and energy for AI. So we truly believe that as AI needs massive energy needs, but it's also that AI can be a solution for that as well. And the way we do that is in 3 different approaches. It's obviously monitoring and forecasting, make sure that we do know what we are consuming today and what we are emitting in terms of emissions that is going into the environment to start with, and then how we are forecasting at the equipment level so that we exactly know what needs to be done for that particular infrastructure so that we can reduce the emissions and also the energy needs. I think the second impact which AI is already doing on the ground is in terms of predictive maintenance. I think today with advanced forecasting models, we definitely know that what is happening with the particular equipment much before the event happens, whether it is the failure of the pumps in the energy industry or the failure of the devices in the data centers, we are actually going to gain in terms of insights much faster than we have before. And the third important area where artificial intelligence is also enabling for sustainable infrastructure is in terms of optimization. Today, we are able to do optimization and improve efficiency, whether it's power grid management or energy optimization, or in terms of specific efficiency needs, depending upon the industry we are operating in. I think these are the 3 different modes by which we definitely feel that AI will not only turbocharge the needs of the energy industry, but also plays a very practical role in mitigating the environmental harmful effects.
This is the future is already today, as I can witness. So before coming back on the future of AI and how you see the future, I would like to hear a little bit from Tien, the perspective of startups. So you are a VC fund, so you invest in startups. How do you see the use cases and the startups today working on the AI front? How do you see, are they already thinking of this type of challenges on electricity, or tell us a little bit more on the startup perspective.
Yes, as a deep tech investor, we bet quite a lot on futuristic founders, and in the deep tech view, is more about scientist founder. So when we back like nuclear energy company, for example, we invest in 2 companies like that. It's turned out that when people talk about nuclear, all know that the emission greenhouse gas is very small, because like 1 kilowatt, which is like 3 to 6 grams of CO2 that we emit. So, but then all people will talk about one keyword, which is safety. But now, if you can see, most of the safety function of the nuclear reactor is actually made from human. So human error is a key thing. So if we can skip that part and develop a way powered by AI that can support the new generation of nuclear reactor, it can lead to the future. And for SMR, the technology that we invest, small modular reactor, we just put that reactor down below the data center, and it's provide the power directly into the data center. So it's helped really much. And another company that we invested, which do the hyperspectral camera for satellite. We already got 4 satellites on the space, still watching us now. But the camera in the satellite is actually to capture the emission and the elements below the soil. And they just have the 4 satellites like in the last August. And the problem is that when you analyze the data on the Earth, what we call Earth observation, we need AI. Other than that, we can use technology to deep dive into the data. So I think the application of AI there for deep tech is like that's a must. And but everything got two sides, and the side of power consumption, a lot of things like that with AI. I think it's related back to the time when people just first invented the automobile, for example. People also talk about the safety of automobile and it's cost a lot, whatever. But what humans do after that, they try to innovate the automobile. Many people say that give up automobile, we happy with the horses. But nowadays outside there, because of innovation, we got next generation of automobile. And I believe that next generation of energy, next generation of AI will be optimized. At least we invest more into that today.
Thank you very much. I think a very quick question on the nuclear side. Can we just tell us about the risks? I mean, how do you balance the risks that are usually associated with nuclear?
Yes, actually, when we talk about risk, right, I think the question is most about LP ask us about that, yes. But we see that, high risk, high return is the nature of the VC. So we bet in, futuristic founders, scientist founder, and some founders come to us and talk about something that I never done before. But we look at the whole thing, the whole train and the vision, and working with the team, we see that, at the end of the day, the risk is actually, the biggest risk actually doing nothing in our picture. In climate tech investment, doing nothing is the biggest risk to me. So at least we try to invest in that. We work with them day by day. We see the milestone by milestone, and then we find the winner within the portfolio, and then we keep on investing in the winner. The loser in the portfolio, they can do in something else, and we still support them. So that's how we balance the risk.
Thank you so much. Before opening the floor to some questions, I would like to ask a general question. How do you see the future of AI in 5 years from now, and how do you see that contributing to the sustainable infrastructure? I will ask Saravan first, please.
I think I personally truly believe that in 3 to 4 years from now, I think essentially in the energy industry, but not just restricted to energy, but overall, we see the journey from augmented intelligence to autonomous operations. So where we are today is we are in the mode of business process enabled by AI as an AI advisory, which is augmented intelligence today. But we see that the future is very near, where in 3 years from now, we see autonomous operations enabled by AI. So which means that you see business processes not only assisted by AI, but integrated with AI, with unmanned operations. I think that's the future, and that's where we are going right now.
Please.
So I've been investing in both digital and sustainable for 25 years. With the AI rising over the past 2 years, it's a little bit saddening to see in the States how there has been quite a lot of attack against ESG and then sustainability. The way I think about this is that it may be just totally coincidence, but the way I think more about it, at the same time, the ultimate push for ESG will be leading to manufacturing sector. Solar, wind, batteries, and then all those areas, electric vehicles, and then you clearly see that China is winning, and then will probably continue winning over the next decade. However, on the AI side, the AI to consumer, to C product or services who will be winning, depending on the computation power, and also the big model capability, engineer innovation, as well as probably the freedom of speech and so forth. So, but that's on the 2C side. Who will be winning is hard to say, but my observation is on the industrial AI, or the AI utilized for commercial, for industrial manufacturing. I think the eastern side, the China, and then Middle East and side have a far better opportunity to win that out, because you have a much stronger supply chain, manufacturing base, bigger data support to make that happen. So I see AI where many people will be benefit greatly for its power in the consumer side,
But fundamentally, for a lot of us are going to see a big change of how this is changing many of our industrial manufacturing, changing how our commercial activities are being operated. And then for that, I see a lot of great potential between China, Southeast Asia, and the Middle East to drive that success.
Thank you so much, Dr. Bro. Ghanim?
Yeah, I think if you compare where we thought space travel or road transport would be in 5 years, you know, in the 90s or early 2000s or so on, I think if we stretch our imagination right now as far as we can go and where we see AI in 5 years, this is probably the 1-year target, right? This is just my guess. I could be completely wrong. There was this thing I read about a cluster that was assembled in Memphis of 100,000 GPUs that was done in 19 days by XAI, right? A couple of days ago, most of you probably saw that video of a part of a rocket landing on a tower. Like, would anyone have thought that this would be possible in this day and age, right? But I think that zooming out, AI is probably going to be a lot more accessible to the broader global population. It's going to lift a lot of countries, communities out of poverty. It's going to afford people a lot of leisure. So, I mean, similar to what was experienced in the 1800s with the steam engine, when the steam engine did a lot of work that would otherwise have been done manually, taken more time. This is where you started to see science. This is where you started to see art, culture, and so on. So I think that's what, I mean, a similar outcome could be expected from AI being more accessible in the near future. Thanks.
Please, Robert.
Yeah, so I would say AI is a technology, just like mobile internet and the internet itself when that came along, mobile telephony. And so ultimately AI is going to percolate through society and become and fade into the background in a way. But I think it is quite transformative, to say the least. So there is going to be a transition period which will be, in many cases, highly disruptive to industry and to different job categories. Ultimately, it will result in a much higher productivity per person, which enables a much higher income per person at the end of the day. So that is the end result, but during that process there will be disruption. But ultimately it will be overall highly beneficial. Leaving on a positive note.
Thank you so much. So I think very few words on my hand on that. I think we knew AI for decades, you know, being in place and used. So, but I think the different paradigm was with Gen AI. I think people seeing that we are able to generate that videos and text with ChatGPT and other platforms make it more reality. So then companies now are the adopters and they are really adopting that technology. And in fact, in the next 5 years, definitely I see a lot of companies embracing the AI. So I would like to open the floor to some questions. And yes, please. Can we get a mic, please?
Can we just put your hand up again? Sorry.
Yeah.
Here we go.
In the middle.
Question over here. If we could, one here and then one here afterwards.
Hi guys, so thank you for the discussion. So I'm from Armenia. We are also an AI company, mainly in computer vision. So it's a very advanced field. So I'm sure that AI is the future. But even though I work in an AI company, so my question to you guys is, don't you think it's like kind of a trend now to talk about it? So like, you remember a few years ago when crypto was a trend, and it's been growing since, and now Bitcoin is like in a high price, but people don't talk about it. So don't you think in my opinion, I think in like 5 to 10 years, AI will still grow very fast, but people won't just talk about it anymore as they do it now because of the trend, you know? So don't you think it is also a trend now to talk, oh, everything, we have AI this, AI that, our company has AI this, or maybe it's even a marketing strategy? So I would like you to answer this question.
Yeah, I will go very quickly on that, which is Don't you think that people still talk about automobile? I think so, right? Even though we got Toyota, we got many other car out there, but EV is the new innovation, but a lot of adoption already. In the near future, will be hydrogen-based automobile. But I believe that is that innovation is there. We don't say that AI is the train in the term of generative AI, whatever, but I believe that AI enable will be something that we still keep on talking about that. Same to the climate change until we can find a way to deal with the whole thing, and it's become the dominant design to some company. And then, but after that, people still keep on innovate and keep on talk about that. It's become mainstream now. So we talk about that not because it's a trend, but because it's the mainstream things to talk about. That's my opinion.
Yeah, I just want to add a few words on that. I think the difference with Web3 was more like adoption. So companies struggled to adopt a Web3 on traceability, etc. With blockchain, very hard to understand. With AI, it's more like enabling things, and the value business model, it's about business model. So are you creating value? AI is creating value because you bring more productivity. When on the Web3, it was more tricky to show that value.
I just want to add one point to that. I think trend is a trend for the sake of trend. I think I always use that. There is a hype cycle, so every technology will go through the hype cycle. But what's the difference between AI to the other technologies is the value. If you do AI and try to find a problem for that, then it's a trend. But if you do AI for a problem in your mind and there is a value, then it's a technology. So if you focus on identifying the problem statement and how AI is trying to derive the value for that, I think that's where the real meat is.
I think we have one quick question here as well, just to squeeze in before the end.
Thank you so much. I'm Ram N. Kumar. I'm from New Delhi, India. And there was very interesting presentation from Dr. Bai, and particularly around how you see climate change. I am building a healthcare platform for traditional and alternative medicine from India and Singapore. The thing is, so my question is basically around when we talk about climate change, there are multiple things that impact each other. So for example, any particular activity that leads to plantation, that also contributes to positive climate impact. Activities, so for example, Bitcoin mining is detrimental to the society from a climate, but say for example, traditional medicine leads to more forestation. How does basically the community sees some of those initiatives in general? And so for example, China, Singapore, India has very large adoption of traditional medicine.
It will have to keep it short.
So how do you see how does the community see this as an integral part of what you call a climate change phenomenon and the carbon-centric initiative that we are seeing in the wider region, basically?
Thank you for the question. Every time we try ChatGPT, it consumes around 3 watt-hour per query, which is more than 10 times more than the Google search. Your question can be reframed by a lot of industry practitioners. End of the day, how can we sleep tight in the evening for everything that we're doing? This is why I firmly believe the 3-pillar approach, where we need to have the proper measurement. And then many times we call it a life cycle measurement. And then I came from the carbon market. I've been working on the carbon market for 18 years. And then the life cycle measurement of the carbon footprint is extremely important. It's a little bit saddening now to see many of the big tech players stop talking about it anymore, because when you talk about AI, at least for now, they don't want to talk about a carbon footprint anymore. That runs against it for some time. But I think as the whole industry understands the need, as some of the better solution, whether it's the existing renewable energy power or the up-and-coming SMR, and even some other maybe 20, 30 years later, the nuclear fusion reactors and so forth, as the need is coming, as some of the efforts are coming up, I think for humankind, we're going to find the solutions, and then we'll be able to sleep tight. So hopefully that answers your question. Thanks.
Thank you, everyone. And it was a pleasure, really, to share this discussion panel with you. Thank you so much.